Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The End of Falsehood by Bisel13 Tensura x G.A.T.E Chapter 6, We Will Prevail, Again. Important note from author. Alright, before starting the chapter, I have something important to say. I'm not used to share a note in the first part of the story, but this is very important in my opinion, so please bear with it guys. I'm afraid I have giving some false expectation to some of the readers, and I'm sorry for that. But there's a reason why I made a chapter 0 in this story. Its purpose to explain my plan on making this story. I made this crossover between Tensura and G.A.T.E. Yes, I knew very well Tensura is far stronger than G.A.T.E in every way. But I already said this on chapter 0, this story is gonna be more of world building. So don't expect some grand battlefield, a one-sided annihilation, and killing spree from Tensura characters. No, I would never make that happen. Again, I already said this in chapter 0, if Rimuru chooses violence, this story will end it in just one chapter. That would be a massive anticlimax things I have ever made. But through this story, although I made it on a whim, I seriously intended to show Rimuru is not only a super OP characters along his subordinates. I wanted to show you guys that Rimuru is also a political figure. He give his subordinate a formal position in his nation. Most of the powerful being we know in Tensura are actively a nation's minister as well. To remind you a bit, I gave several example. Benimaru is samurai general, also soon become a minister of defense. Testarossa is a military attaché, working in foreign affairs ministry. Xian and Diablo are actively Rimuru's personal secretary. Gabiru, along with Vesta and Kaijin, is Minister of Science. And Rimuru, he's a king. He's not an active adventurer, although he's still registered as one in guild, but you know what I mean. He's not a bored hero, he's not a demon lord who created chaos, although ironically his title is Chaos Creator. He's not stray op otherworlder, no, he's a king. He have political influence, he have a duty to serve his people, he is bound by common sense law, and he is the figurehead of Jura Tempest Federation. And to remind you guys again, Rimuru is pacifist. He would always pursue a peaceful way, and only resort to violence when there's no other option left. And his subordinates are learning from him, or at least followed his mindset to please him. That's why I made Diablo holding back a lot in recent chapters. So, in this story, I'm not intending to nerf the whole Tensura characters. Nope, I'm also a huge fan and love how OP they were. But, I want to give more spotlight of other side of Tensura lore. Which is, world building. I want to give justice for Tensura characters who actually hold political position, and not just show them as powerful being. Once again, I'm sorry if you expecting a grand annihilation from Tensura towards Falamartian people. But that's never gonna happen. Tempest's purpose is already explained in the story, so if you didn't find it exciting, then this story is not for you. And for you who like the story, I wholeheartedly grateful. I wish you could enjoy this chapter. Chapter 6. We Will Prevail, Again. 2 days after the first wave has been sent to the gate, the Imperial soldiers of Sidaran's empire prepared for another assault. However, the assault wouldn't be happen in near time. They were told to have a rest and maintain their equipments. The commanders are busy planning the another assault. After the motivation speech from Marquis Kalios, the other generals had been eager to make a plan for another assault. Unfortunately, they couldn't gather much information about the enemy. The information from General Agnius and some of his commander in field wasn't enough to make an ideal plan. Marquis Kalios were aware of this. Initially he already urged a scouting unit to once again crossing the gate. But every scout he sent was never coming back. They had probably has been slain by the enemy defenders somehow. Because of this, Marquis Kalios was certain the enemy had prepared a solid defensive line near the gate. And, he wanted to know how strong their defensive line are. He predict the enemy would use the same troops, which is a monsters. And orcs are pretty much ideal creature to make a defensive line. They were big, powerful, and not scared to death. If they could make a discipline unit consisted from orcs, it will be very difficult to break through it. This prediction was also made some ruckus among the military commanders and patricians. They wanted to know what kind of nation that laid beyond the gate. Is it a monster nation? Is their world filled only with monsters? Is the human or inferior towards monsters? Marquis Kalios has been trying his best to avert his officials from wasting their energy to wandering around into a productive activity. It's understandable if he felt annoyed that many of his fellow patricians didn't contribute anything and just spreading rumors about the enemy. But there is one particular fellow patrician who he felt complicated. "My Lord Callios, may I have a word?" "Yes. What is it, Count Formal?" Count Formal has proved himself to be a brave warrior and shrewd aristocrat. He was one of the commander in field during the first wave, and he himself joined the legionnaires in the front line. He was covered with bruised, and his torso are still covered in bandage. However, this look had made many of the imperial soldiers respecting him as a fellow warrior. Marquis Callios also acknowledged his bravery and genuinely respect him more than other patricians. But, he felt complicated because Count Formal is a person who can be a bit too logical. It is a good thing to understand a complex tactic, but for the Siderans, it will worth of nothing if it means fighting without honor. It doesn't particularly mean that Count Formal don't have any sense of honor. But for Count Formal, a victory and honor could be a separate things depending the circumstance. It resulting some slight of disagreement among his fellow patricians. And this time, Marquis Callios was having some hard time listening Count Formal's suggestion. "If I may suggest, my lord, we asked for more additional force from the Emperor. Also, I think gathering a unit of monsters from our territory would be a good addition among our troops." Marquis Callios gave a short sigh. "May I ask the reason, Count Formal?" "Of course." Then, he placed a piece of paper on the table. It has strange lines and numbers along with small words. Marquis Callios had to look at it with a closer look. Then, after several seconds examining the paper, he gasped. How did you get this map?" "I drew it, my lord. But it's not very accurate. It's only based on my memory, so I expect there's a lot I have missing out." "Amazing. Why didn't you give it to me earlier?" "My apologies, my lord. I have to tend my wounds for a moment." "Oh yes, I see. My apologies as well for getting too excited." "It's all right, my lord. Now, it may not be a fully accurate drawn map, but at least it gives us a good reference on how the terrain looks like." Marquis Callios nodded and examined the map that has been drawn by Count Formal. Although he still felt confused on how to respond his suggestion earlier, but right now he has committing his all available concentration to the map. After several minutes examining it, Marquis Callios started to see some ambiguous spot. "It's not a surprise, Count Formal said it himself, he may have missing a lot of details. But it was enough to make some precaution. So, there was a hill nearby and we suspect the enemy make an encampment there. Behind the gate there's a huge river, but in front of the gate is plain grass field. This is a forest?" "Yes, my lord. We were in a huge grass field when we arrived, but if we look a bit further, it seems like a huge forest. If the enemy made a camp upon a hill, it would be a strategic spot to scouting. We won't be able to make a surprise attack." "Yes, that's why I suggest we add more additional troops. A monster unit would be preferred in my opinion." "Ah yes, here we go." Marquis Callios's thought. "Yes, I ask the reasoning now, Count Formal." "It's simple. It's for probing attack. But monsters don't have any intelligence to do that. We sent our scouts with them, and hide them behind the monsters to looking for a weak spot." "I'm starting to hate this." Again, Marquis Callios didn't say it out loud. "Then, if we lucky, we can soften their front row. And when that's happened, we sent our own levies." "The levies? Not legionnaires?" "As much as I don't like it, my lord, we must keep our legionnaires safe. The levies has a larger number, and we may be able to overwhelm them with that number. Again, it will soften their ranks and leave it to our legionnaires to finish it." It is pretty much logical, but even the starting point is already an unacceptable move. Why? Because no one wants to give up the honor to lead the front row. "I appreciate your suggestion, Count Formal. However, I don't think it would work." With a bit of apologetic tone, Marquis Callios rejects the suggestion from Count Formal. Count Formal, on the other hand, seems exasperated and only sigh after hearing the rejection. Because he had already expecting it, but he still wanted to try. "I knew it. It is because of the honor of warrior, right?" "So you notice." "Yes, I was only give it a try. It's unfortunate, but I understand the others' need for glory. I too, share the same view with them. Although I think I'm still capable to be more flexible." "I understand. To be honest, I have much more obnoxious suggestion in your point of view, but I think this is the most certain way to win." Marquis Callios sighed once again. Count Formal's suggestion was practically discarding the chance to take glory from the soldiers and gave it to the mindless monsters, and right now he said he have something more outrageous. Although he didn't want to know, out of respect for Count Formal, he decided to respond. You can tell me if you want. Count Formal smirked and followed with a short sigh. He looked up to Marquis Callios with tired look, a bit hesitate to actually tell it. But in the end, he decided to let Marquis Callios know. In my mind, we better retreated right now and strengthen our outpost. We make a heavy fortification here and wait them to attack first. That is outrageous. Marquis Callios had already expecting something like delaying the invasion for a month or something like that, but he never thought Count Formal would suggest to retreated and let the enemy to make a step in this world. But Count Formal only gave a short laugh. He also expecting Marquis Callios would be upset, but not this much. He laughed not because he find it amusing, but he laughed because his calculation was wrong. I know. But I think the enemy would also starting to have an intention to cross the gate. If we decided to let them attacking, we would have an advantage in terrain. Right now we also have a huge number of army. It will make a good fortification. However, if we attacked right now, we don't know how high our chances. To be honest, I think we would failed in this conquest. Count Formal. Marquis Callios stood up from his chair, looking at Count Formal intently. Just me and you, I gave you way more respect than my other fellow patricians. However, I would not tolerate anyone who doubt our victory. So here's my suggestion, Count Formal. He took a short pause, checking if Count Formal looked intimidated or not. But Count Formal just standing still, it's unknown if he felt fear or ignorant. Bam. A sound of slammed table was ringing out loud. You sharpen your blade, and go back to your men. Or I swear in the name of Emeroi, I would beheading you myself. Count Formal kept his stoic face. He didn't really expecting this much of rage coming out from Marquis Callios. But, he knew what he said was an outrageous thing. So he admit to himself that he was the one at fault. And so, he gave a small nod and made himself out from the tent. If only I can say more. I hope what Diablo said before was a bluff, he murmured. He can't shake off the uneasy feeling from Diablo's threat. No, he sensed that Diablo only saying part of the truth. He remembered how it feels to trade blows with the giant orcs beyond the gate. No, it was not a trading blows, it was near-death experience. They numbered around 5,000, only fourth of the Imperial Legionnaires' total numbers. Yet, they hold their position with so much ease. Count Formal noticed that these orcs were only defending their position. They didn't advance or breaking their formation to chase them when they retreating. If those giant orcs had been on offensive, even with their inferior number, the Imperial would stand no chance. No matter how competent and flexible Marquis Callios is, if he still wanted to conquer the world beyond the gate, he would meet failure. At this situation, Count Formal could be branded as coward. But Count Formal is one of the people who actually managed to survive the clash between the giant orcs. Whether it's because of his ability or pure luck, he didn't want to take it anymore. He didn't think it would be a matter of win or lose anymore, it's about cutting losses. I knew it, he said to himself, our gods has forsaken us. Yes, it's okay Gazel. We can handle this by ourselves. I'm more than certain about that, Rimuru. However, is there any chance that another gate or whatever it is would emerge somewhere else? Now that's something I'm not sure of. We really hasn't figured out who's behind this. We know a certain being named Hardy is the one who probably create the gate, but apart from he is the god of the underworld, we know nothing about him, or her. Hardy, huh? We don't have any record about someone named Hardy. Not even Testarossa who have lived since the creation of the world have known this being, Gazel. Don't worry about it. Hey. That's somewhat make me more nervous. Peeved, I know right? Believe me, I also felt a bit anxious. Don't jest, Rimuru. You hold an unimaginable strength right now. I believe if you wanted to, you already made the Siderans flatten to the ground. But that's not the way you wanted, right? Of course not. That's very out of my value, and worth to note, my strength right now is. Ahahaha. Relax Rimuru. I know you won't be like that. And I'm grateful that you choose to settle this as peaceful as possible. Ha, you know me, Gazel. But I feel a bit bad since I cannot oversee the whole process. I have so many things to do right now. I wonder if it's a good thing to leave it to my subordinates alone. It's perfectly fine. Your subordinates was always wanting to prove themselves to you, Rimuru. In many occasions, it was clear as day that your subordinates are thirst for your acknowledgement. Let them handle this by their own, but don't forsaken them. Keep an eye on them and give them praise whenever they manage to achieve something. Hey, I knew that already, Gazel, but thanks for reminding me. No problem. Sorry to intrude you with our emergency line. I can't sit idly when I know a mysterious gate could show up anywhere and send a wave of hostile people. Don't worry about that, Gazel. Even if the gate appeared in your territory, I believe you could handle it as good as me. Ha, we may deal with them at ease if the aggressors are the same with the one who attacked you. But if somehow, what the gate have brought is demons, then it would be a difficult situation. Well, that would be a headache as well for me, ha ha ha. You have a demons as subordinates, so you should be able to handle it at ease. Well, that's it from me. I hope you would keep giving Dwargon the updates from the gate phenomenon. Of course, I will keep updating it through the World Council, Gazel. However, if there's any particular updates that would need special treatment, we will inform you through our ambassador. Very well, we should go back to our respective duties. Thank you for your time, Rimuru. You're welcome, Gazel. The phone call closed, and the emergency communication has finished. Rimuru sighed after the phone was closed. He understand by the normal circumstance, Gazel was doing a right thing. As a king of nation, it's certainly not a laughing matter when they heard a phenomenon that could cause harm to their nation. So Rimuru had to quench his concern. But this is not the first emergency call directed to him. The first emergency call came from Blumend Kingdom, with Fuse as the one on the call. Then, Farmena's Kingdom with Yum and Majoran came in second after Blumend. Dwargon, apparently came in third. Rimuru wished there will be no more emergency calls so he could make an official update to the World Council, which is being worked on by Testarossa and her staffs. Rimuru-sama, an emergency call had also came from Sarian. Should we decline it and leave a note? Behind him, Xian announced while holding a bunch of papers. Xian has transformed into a fully fledged secretary by now. Ha, understood. Xian, connect her on the line. I cannot betray Elmesia's trust on this. Then, another talks about the gate phenomenon has been held once more. The day would always be busy for Rimuru and his executives. While Rimuru handling other nation leader, Testarossa and Mjormile had also busying themselves to make a plan on executing Rimuru's wishes. With some intel had been gathered by the Intelligence Bureau, they have a pretty much information to be used as reference. For starters, Mjormile would start to calculate how much the Empire's treasury by figuring out the trade works on the other side of the gate. He already calculate to converse the Dwarven coin into Sawani, Sinku, Denarii, and Soruda. It's pretty intricate that the Sateran Empire uses a variety of metal coins with different value as well. Mjormile has to make a economy expansion where 2 Dwarven gold coin is equivalent with 1 Suwani, but at the same time 1 Dwarven gold coin is having more value than 2 Sinku. And it's getting more intricate to start figure out the exchange rate between the bronze and silver Dwarven coin into Denarii and Soruda. But one certain thing that Mjormile had figured is Dwarven coin has more value than the Sateran's currency. Suwani is a special coin that only several high-up could use or in special occasion. Much like the stellar coin. For daily life, Sinku, Denarii, and Soruda are the most being used. This could be perceived as good and bad news. The good news is, with their current higher value, it would be easy to produce money for their operation in the Saterans. The exchange rate between Dwarven gold coin and Sinku are already high enough to even start a rival company for the Saterans. They could purchase many goods from Saterans with low price in Dwarven coin, and this mean there would be no need for massive funds for the economy expansion. The bad news is, it would be a disaster for the Saterans. With the Dwarven coin being superior than their currency, they would need much bigger quantity of money to trade with Jura Tempest Federation. Mjormile couldn't imagine how disastrous this is. He imagining if they want to start trading a potion with a low grade alone, it already costed of 4 denarii. From the intelligence report, the prisoners that held in captive shared an information about the average salary. Most peasant or plebeian are paid in Soruda, which a 100 Soruda are equivalent with 1 denarii. And the average plebeian had an average income of 25 to 30 Soruda a day, depending on their job. It means the average of plebeian had only 7 to 9 denarii per month. In comparison, after many revolutionary production by Tempest, the average people in Cardinal World also have an income around 7 Dwarven silver coins per month. But after many development and economic revolution, the average people outside of Tempest could afford 15 to 18 silver coin per month. This is also supported by a stable supply that prevent any kind of inflation. So, it had estimated the economy would grow higher and higher. On contrary, the Saturans seems to be quite fragile with fluctuation. The empire doesn't have a full control on circulation and let it run free by the merchants. Mjormel sighed at the situation. Well, at least he can make a good entry for business. Testarossa, on the other hand, analyzing a different kind of report. She learned that the empire was actually made up from several vassal states, and sadly enough, none of them gave their loyalty out of respect. She learned that the Saturans are basically conquering their vassals with force, and without any proper control, they could lose their vassals in a blink of an eye. One in particular caught her attention. Elbe Kingdom. Duran, it seems he's pretty famous among the Saturans. She murmured to herself. Although she found it pretty sad for the Saturans for their lack of respect given by their vassals, she find it as a great opportunity to give pressure on the Saturans. She immediately made a plan to give support for the vassals in the empire, but not enough to start an armed rebellion. She have another card to play for them. The main goal was to end the hostility from the Sataran Empire with negotiation. But if the negotiation failed, she would have another option than an armed conflict. Rimuru doesn't want the empire to collapse out of generosity, but it doesn't mean he disallowed to weaken the empire. So, you could figure out what's inside of Testarossa's mind when she knew there are many vassals in the empire that wanted to be independence. It's been 5 days since the first attack from the Sataran Empire. There is still no signs of the Satarans would make a move, they seem to be still making a plan. Jura Tempest Federation was also preparing more plan to handle the situation. Many people got involved, from the highest executive until the lowest. One of them is the commander of the Grey Numbers Corps, Ser. Ser had taken much of his men to help him procure the supplies that would needed for the campaign. It was a lot of paperwork since he have to formally ask for funds to the finance division, acquiring more equipments from the armory, and on some occasion, he was called by Benamaru to discuss the operation plan. But now Ser is feeling nervous. The reason was not because he got order to depart right now, but because the one who summoned him was Rimuru himself. He knew he did nothing wrong, but to be summoned directly by Rimuru is something only for the high-ranking executive could have. He's still looking himself in somewhere in the middle ranks of the executives. Nevertheless, Ser take his way towards the government building. He rode a motorcycle, a newly made transportation device from Tempest. Tempest had been doing a lot of research to recreate the modern transportation such as cars, ships, and airplane. Tempest had successfully made a Magi train and had been used for variety purposes. The Eastern Empire had basically invented aeroplane but only used for military purpose. It was Tempest who finally start to making these revolutionary vehicles and plan to mass produce it. However, the market is still not ready for it. Many people are still fond to use horses and carriages. But the main reason for not mass produce the modern vehicle is because the infrastructures wasn't ready to support it. It will need a lot of shops that could serve the maintenance, a better material for roads, a wider roads, a fuel station, parking lot, traffic regulation, and many more. That's why, although the production of modern vehicles already exist, the number of vehicle they produce are still limited and only sold to certain people. Ser is one of the people who's not only could afford the motorcycle, but also pass the test to ride it. He was pretty proud of it, and starting to like riding his bike. His bike is much more fast than every horses he ever ride. Of course, this bike itself had been said to have 35 horsepower. It says something about the engine is powered with 250 cc in modern terms, but he didn't understand any of that. He found something relaxing by riding a motorcycle. And that's why he used to get his way to the government building, to soothe his uneasiness. After he arrived, he went straight ahead to the designated room. Knock knock. Come in, a voice replied behind the door. Ser immediately opened it. There, in a room, he saw many of the high executive has taken their seat. There was Rimuru, Benamaru, Testarossa, Mjormel, Vesta, Rigard, and Kaijan. His uneasiness grown. The relaxing feeling from his earlier bike riding had gone instantly.
Ah, Sar. Please have a seat, said Rimuru after he saw Sar.
Why yes. Sar had taken a seat, facing every high executive that present in this room. He knew they didn't meant to, but he felt intimidated. Rimuru noticed that Sar is feeling uneasy, and so, he decided to start the conversation with an easy topic. Hello Sar. Good to see you. How are you today? Why yes. I'm perfectly fine, Rimuru-sama, thank you. Ahaha. Please be at ease, Sar. I don't want you to be this nervous. My apologies, Rimuru-sama. Fufu, I understand how you feel Sar. Sometimes even I felt a tremendous pressure to face Rimuru-sama. Out of nowhere, Vesta made a comment. Eh? You do, Vesta? Asked Rimuru, totally unexpecting it. Indeed I am, Rimuru-sama. Ever since you're recognized by Gazel-sama, I have putting you on the same level as him. But now, you're not only the king of the nation, but a de facto ruler of the whole world. I feel a bit embarrassed when you put it that way, Vesta. That being said, Vesta's feeling is relatable for me as well. Another comment was spurred from Kaijin. You too, Kaijin. Sure it is. If I never saw your playful side, I would tremble with huge amount of pressure when I faced you, Rimuru-dana. Oi, but I'm considering you all as my friends, you know? I never wanted to give you all such an impression. Hearing the answer, all of the high executive let out a small laugh. It's not a laugh of mocking, it's a laugh to show they understand what Rimuru's meant. Then, Benimaru spoke. You see, Sar, Rimuru-sama is always like this with us, so you don't have to feel so tensed. Followed with a gentle smile. Why yes, my apologies. Fufu, it's a good thing to know your place, but it's not a bad thing to relax a bit, Sar-kun. Testarossa retorted. Sar is trying to give another apology, but Rimuru cut him out. Alright. Sar-kun, we're here to discuss about the plan to pacify the Sidarans. Are you ready? Sar, having his tense already easen up, only nodded firmly. Seeing this, Rimuru gave a warm smile. Very good. Now, I assume you already know your task, right? Yes, Rimuru-sama. Right, and I have to be honest with you, it won't be easy. Sar nodded. There will be a lot of things gonna happen. And many problems could arise, yet although our goal is simple, the process wouldn't be that simple. We don't want to conquer the Sidarans, it will be a huge problem for the aftermath. And we didn't want to create a chaos beyond that gate. However, Rimuru paused for a moment, looking at Sar for a while. I expect some conflict would happen many times. It is inevitable. Yet our goal should remain firm. So, I hope you already expecting this. Rimuru looked at one of the staff, and she immediately understand. She took some papers and gave it to Sar. Sar didn't immediately pick it up until Rimuru asked him, and when he read it, it turns out a profile of several people. He understand right away what it means, but he wants some confirmation. So, he asked to Rimuru. Rimuru-sama, this is, yes, we decided to send these people to assist you, and of course they also have their own role. However, you're going to hold the highest authority. I gave you the right to representing me during your task in Falmart. Really? Sar couldn't contain his surprise by the announcement. He? Hold the highest authority? Fufu, of course you are, Sar-kun. I heard you are former head of the 10 Great Saints. So I agree when the discussion to choosing the leader of this team. Testarossa responded. Even though you joined us rather recently, we were well aware of how devoted you are and how much ability you have. I believe you could take the role of not only as the core leader, but also the head of the team. Benimaru joined. Sar Dono, the Ministry of Science has already counting on you for many things before. I have no other reason to not trusting you on this role. Vesta also joined in. See? Sar-kun, we believe you're the perfect figure to fill this role. You don't have to worry about our approval. I personally have a complete trust for you. So, please believe in yourself and do your best. Sar, for anyone that present, would notice how red his ear is. He seems to be blushing as well. He trembled a bit, but he was more of excited than anxious. He was trusted this much by the higher-ups. He, with every spirit he could muster, replied. Yes, Rimuru-sama. Leave it to me. Rimuru and other ministers smiled seeing him accepting the role. They felt proud and genuinely happy to see a high-spirited warrior. Rimuru, not wanting to destroy the mood, vigorously respond. Good. Then, the official team to go through the gate, I shall name it as, the Enlightenment Task Force. It was night, The sun has set from the sky and the dark of the night had covered the whole world. For many, nighttime is the time to have a rest. It was a best time to recharge your energy for tomorrow's activity. Nighttime is a good time to feel relaxed. However, in that particular night, SAR is still sitting in his office. Every corps unit have their own barracks in military housing. Most of them placed near the capital, but most of the time the units would wander around the nation to fill the outpost. As the corps leader, SAR has the most special treatment. He have his own mansion, he have a private office, and his salary is above anyone else in the corps. And now, sitting in his own office room, he's awake with a mug of coffee on his hands. He's waiting for some particular people. Yes, he didn't just wait for one or two person, but he waited for 6 people to pay him a visit as scheduled. And he didn't wait alone. His partner, also now served as his second in command in the entire corps, was also with him. It's been a while we have a proper task, right SAR? Don't say it like that, Grigory. Your words can be perceived as ungrateful, you know? Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I just mean that I understand. We finally have a job that we should have since forming this corps. Grigory, a heavy muscular man, the one who nicknamed the giant boulder. Although Grigory didn't evolve into a saint like SAR, he have 400.000 existence point, which, it means he is very strong for a human. He is one of the enlightened in the corps, and his authority is second only to SAR. Although Grigory had also grew into a humble warrior, he sometimes couldn't kept his harsh tongue. SAR and Grigory has been partnered for a long time, and share a bond of a strong brotherhood. They have been through a lot together, and it makes them trust each other as much as they trust themselves. And right now, they both are waiting for people who would join the Enlightenment Task Force and temporarily join the Grey Numbers Corps. Grigory examined the profile of each representative of the small team that would join them. These are amazing people, albeit one of it sure bring back memories. Yeah, indeed. I'm glad they would join us. And it's our priorities to protect them during our time in Falmart. You don't have any problem with her? Asked Grigory as he lifted one paper about a particular person. Right now, I don't have any reason to resent her. Although I'm afraid she will be reserved toward us. I believe during her time serving Rimuru-sama, he would feel guilty after what she's done to us. So what should we do? We showed that we forgive her. It's not good to keep resentment for our past. Grigory smirked. Hey. Then I'll do it as you say. Well, I'm curious about how she gonna act around us for now. SAR smiled. I bet she would feel a bit awkward at first. Knock knock, a sound of knocking doors suddenly heard. SAR immediately replied, come in. Then, the door opened and a tall slim girl came right away. SAR looked at her while comparing to the profile that was given to him. She is certainly beautiful girl with her long purple hair. She wears some thin clothing, but he knew it was worth of unique grade armaments. She might appear to be thin, but she gave an aura of cold assassin. It's Seika, right? SAR asked, remembering her profile from the document before. Yes, SAR-sama. My name is Seika, and I will aid you on intelligence gathering. I see. You're a part of Kurayami, correct? Yes. I'm a part of Kurayami unit under Soka-sama. But right now, I'm temporarily serve under you, SAR-sama. I also bring another 500 Dragonutes to support the intelligence gathering. I hope we could get along. Likewise, Seika-san. I'm glad to have you in the team. Me too, SAR-sama. You were well known even before joined the nation. I heard so many things about you, SAR-sama. SAR had a bit of blush. He just hoped Seika didn't knew how arrogant he was when he's still a part of the 10 great saints. To ease his feeling, he pretended to clear his throat. Ekhem. Thank you. I also heard how fearsome Tempest Secret Squad is. Now, Seika-san, you already have the outline of our plan, right? Yes, SAR-sama. I will do my utmost care to assist you. However, if I may be honest, it will be a pretty difficult job. I understand. From what we already gather, the Sideran Empire is very large. It will be difficult for you to spying the whole region. That's why we need to make a priorities on which place we should keep in watch. Do you have an idea for that, SAR-sama? We certainly need to keep an eye for every temple. We also need to gather intelligence in the big cities. But I think the most prominent is to place a spy in the Imperial Castle in Sidera. Seika gave a smile upon hearing the statement. I agree, SAR-sama. You can leave it to me for espionage. Just tell me where I should go, and I will send a proficient member to investigate it. Understood. I'm counting on you, Seika-san. In meanwhile, we haven't received an order to march toward Falmart. So make yourself comfortable here. I'll assign my men to prepare you a place to stay. Thank you very much, Sar-sama. Then, until further notice, I'll be excusing myself. See you soon, Seika-san. Seika smiled and nodded. Then, she exited the room and closed the door. She's beautiful. Grigori commented. Hush, she's very powerful. I bet she's in S-class in terms of strength. I knew it already. I'm just saying what I saw. Just be careful for the timing. Then Sar sipped his coffee. A moment later, another knock on the door was heard. Sar immediately gave a permission to come in. And when the door opened, a man with fancy attire came in. He gave an aura of aristocrat, a very well-educated man, and a shrewd calculative figure. Sar only ever heard his name when he still served as one of the 10 great saints, but aside from knowing his name, he knew nothing else. The man had entered the room with such elegance, yet somehow, menacing. Even Grigori couldn't say anything upon seeing this man. Greetings, Sar Dono. My name is Vryard. I'm sent here to assist you in negotiation with the Sidarans. I'll be in your care, and I hope we will get along. Greetings, Vryard Dono. We never met before, but I already knew your name as the Viscount in Bloomend Kingdom. Yes, I'm a former noble in Bloomend Kingdom. However, I have accepted Mjolmile-sama's invitation to work under him. And right now, Mjolmile-sama and Testarossa-sama had agreed to send me as aid for your task in Falmart. I see. You must be very familiar with nobility etiquette, right? I'm very sure of my competency, Sar-sama. It is Rimuru-sama's goal to pacify the Sidarans with peaceful way. Perhaps, with my ability, I can help to make that happen. I'm very sure you can do it, Vryard Dono. I'm glad to have you in our team. Welcome aboard, Vryard Dono. It is my pleasure, Sar Dono. But if I may be honest, our task right now would be challenging. I'm afraid I couldn't do my job with a great speed. Oh no, don't worry about that, Vryard Dono. We didn't rush our things. We better do it right than do it fast. Vryard smiled. Thank you for your understanding. I promise I will give my best to assist you. I'll be counting on you as well, Vryard Dono. Then, I'll excuse myself. Sar nodded and Grigori had stand up to open the door for Vryard. After Vryard exited the room, Grigori made a comment. That man seems very slick. He would be a fearsome noble. I know. Behind his elegance and fancy attire, I can sense he is very smart and calculative. Sar smirked. Hey, having him around, I'm sure the Sidaran's nobility would having a hard time. It's our job to provide and protect him at all cost. I kinda like that guy. If you want, I'll personally be his bodyguard. Grigori cracked a joke. Ha ha ha, don't be silly, Grigori. I need you as my vice leader. But you're right on one thing, we might need to assign a bodyguard for him. Alright, I'll start to pick up some proficient men among our troops. Much obliged, Grigori. Knock knock, another knock on the door. This time, it was more than just one person. No, it seems these people are not a human anyway. Come in, Sar permitted. The door was opened and 3 little girls arrived. It seems the 3 of them are human, but their magicules are telling otherwise. Reporting, Sue. I'm Foss, a 3 Beastketeers candidate. Yo. My name is Stella, I'm here because Milam-sama permitted me to. I'm Nemu, nice to meet you. Sar and Grigori watched the flashy introduction, then look at each other. Grigori let out a suppressed laugh, while Sar sighing but followed with giggle. 3 girls, they seems to be so young. A child even. The one whose name is Foss is a lycanthrope. Stella seems to be human, but upon more examining she's a dragonoot, and last the one named Nemu is a harpy. Hello, my name is Sar. And I'm the acting leader of the whole force. And this is Grigori, my second in command. Yo. What's up, lass? Grigori gave his own greetings. I'm very fine, Grigori-sama. We'll be in your care too, Sar-sama. Yeah, let's kick these so-called Sidaran people out. I prefer to sleep. Grigori grinned looking at these 3 different characteristics, while Sar could only hold his head with his arms. You guys seems very lively. It's not a bad thing, but I hope you can behave yourself during our mission. Of course, Sar-sama. We'll be very careful on every task you gave us. Foss responded, before Stella could even say a word. That's good. I heard from Rimuru-sama that Carrion-sama himself asked a favor to include you three in my force. It says you guys are proficient in reconnaissance? Can you explain more about it? We were ever get assigned by Intelligence Bureau to scouting the human nation such as Bloomond and Ingratia. I'm confident in our ability to blend in with society and adaptive to the surrounding. The one who answered is once again, Foss. Understood. I can use you as additional member in intelligence gathering. And also, Sar hesitate a bit but say it eventually, you guys looks like a children. We may found an opportunity to use that trait. But we're not a Kai. The one named Stella is starting to shout her disagreement, but Foss has immediately covered her mouth with her own hands. Yes. We would help you in any way possible, Foss replied immediately. Alright you three. I'll have my men to prepare a room for you. Make yourself comfortable here, and tomorrow morning, let's have a training together with my troops. We cannot be unprepared before going to Falmart, do we? Yes, sir. Sar gave them a warm smile he could give, and he held back his urge to patting their heads. He let the three girls to excuse themselves, and waited for the last person who scheduled to meet him tonight. Grigori has opened a bottle of beer, while Sar made a cup of tea. They waited for the last person who would come. And they knew the person personally. It was their old friend, if it could be considered as a friend. They have been working together before, but after certain event happened, they become separated and they never saw any opportunity to be reunited once again. That said, however, it doesn't mean they have a good relationship either in early days. Both Sar and Grigori didn't really put it to much thought ever since they become Raisin's disciple. Since then, they knew that everything happened is because their own lack of power. If someone is to be blamed for this, it was their own. Knock knock, the last sound of knocking door finally heard. But this time, it was much softer than other visitors. With his magic sense, Sar could feel the person behind the door is hesitating. Well, not that he didn't expecting it. Sar looked at Grigori, and Grigori nodded. He stood up and opened the door for the visitors. As the door opened, after a long time, Grigori finally met again with her. The former fellow of the three battle sages along with Sar. Upon seeing Grigori, the visitor had a bit of jolt of surprise. She didn't expect the door would be opened by him. For a moment, the whole room filled with silence. Until Sar breaking the ice with his greetings. Hello, Glenda. Nice to see you again. Glenda Atlee, a summoned otherworlder by the Rosso family. She's a mercenary in her former world, and gained a unique skill, sniper. Her capability as an assassin had made her useful for the Rosso family. Under Mariabelle, she has done a lot of killing but utterly failed and eventually captured by Sue when she tried to assassinate Prince Elric. She used to be a part of the three battle sages along with Sar and Grigori, but that was only for her cover. Her actual job was becoming a lapdog of the Rossos. It is proven when the three battle sages was sent to Farmus Kingdom to assist King Edward against Yume and former King Edmalus. During the campaign, Diablo has suddenly appeared and gave a warning. Yet, they perceived his warning as a threat and King Edward ordered to engage him. At first, King Edward had a full of confidence since he's already hiring a group of Demon Slayer from Eastern Empire via Cerberus organization. But things took turn into a grim since Diablo managed to beat all the Demon Slayer with his Demon Lord Haki alone. As part of the three battle sages, Sar and Glenda have to engage with him. However, Glenda didn't have any intention to have a deathmatch against Diablo. She attacked first, but failed miserably after her knife did nothing to Diablo. She understood right away that Diablo is far stronger than her and she immediately ran away, leaving Sar to whatever fate he would face. It was probably out of fortune that she eventually captured by Tempest and freed herself from a curse that binding her soul to the Rossos. Although initially, Rimuru wanted to leave her alone, she begged to be hired and given permission to stay in Tempest. Glenda then eventually joined the Kurayami under Soka, but soon given a special role along with Murmile. She's assisting Murmile in the process to form the Three Wise Drunk organization, an underground organization intended to seize every underground business families. With her background as a person who used to work in the shadows, she took a great success to seize Sting Murmile and eventually become a high-ranking leader in the organization. Her authority in the organization was second only to the three main leader, Murmile, Rimuru, and Elmisia. She also formed her own squad named the Three Musketeers. Her new partners is Gerard and Ein, a former zealot of Vert, the primordial green demon. Gerard and Ein was captured after the shocking revelation that their goddess, Vert, Misery, only used them for her purpose to serve Guy Crimson. Gerard and Ein could be said as dead inside when Misery, their goddess, refuses to fight Testarossa, who turns out to be a fellow primordial demon. Gerard and Ein eventually released from prison because of Testarossa's plea, and taken custody by Tempest. Under Rimuru, they were placed to assist Glenda in the Three Wise Drunks and eventually found a new purpose in life to serve their new master, Rimuru Tempest. Along with Gerard and Ein, Glenda had made the organization into a fearsome and powerful, and eventually managed to take control whole of the underground business around the world. The Three Wise Drunks outperformed the former underground ruler, Cerberus, in their former days, and successfully securing Tempest from underworld threats. But now, there's a new threat. No, it's more like a new opportunity. A mysterious gate connecting one world to another had emerged, and from every intel they could get, the land beyond the gate, Falmart, was a giant opportunity to spread their wings. Glenda knew this and asked permission to Mjormile to operate an expansion when the situation got stabilized, and she immediately got yes as answer. But what Glenda didn't expect is she would join a special task force led by a person he betrayed. She immediately hesitated in considering to be substitute by Gerard or Ein. But she got rejected and persuaded joined because she's the most proficient to working a business underground. Mjormile, who appointed him to join the task force, was aware of her doings to Sar and Grigori. That's why he convinced Glenda to use this as opportunity to make up with these two. He also tried to convince her that Sar and Grigori has changed and won't resented her for what she done during the Pharma's civil war. Glenda finally take the job, although personally, she still felt hesitant to meet her old colleagues. Sar is a hot-headed person, although he's a person who could take aside the hostility for cooperating in bigger goal, he's not so forgiving and spiteful to the person he doesn't like. Grigori, on the other hand, is a loyal friend to Sar. He might be a muscle-headed man, but he's the type who's gonna work on his job until it's done. Honestly, she didn't want to do this anymore. She's afraid that Sar and Grigori is secretly resent her. She have abundance of experience working with someone she have betrayed before, but somehow, it felt different with Sar and Grigori. But job is a job. She couldn't refuse what her master desire. Especially Rimuru, who not only have freed her from the curse, but graciously forgave her and gave a second chance to do better. With a deep sigh, Glenda braced herself to knock the door. She already made her way to Ser's office, to have a personal meeting as scheduled. She prepared for the worst. Knock knock, she hesitantly knocked, but there is no answer. Gosh, I'm really screwed, she thinks. She mustered up another courage to knock the door once again, but failed miserably since the door opened by itself. No, someone has opened it from the inside. As the door opened, a tall muscular man appeared. His hair is long but tied to the back created a pony. Ah, Grigori. They stared at each other. The silence is deafening for both of them, but it eventually breaks. Another voice coming from inside the room. It's a male voice. A voice that was used to belong to an arrogant person. But right now, what she heard from that voice was humbleness and softness. She might overthink it, but she feels like a warm air is wrapping her body because of that voice. And that voice was greeting her, as it say, "Hello, Glenda. Nice to see you again." To be